realize it. Yes. Good evening, viewers. Today we are back with you to know our strengths. Now, what is the strength that we are going to know about? An organization that is trying to bring about peace through education, which is something very unusual. We have today our guest, Christopher Rego, and he has got 32 years of service in the Indian Army, Indian Military, Indian Army. And he has served especially for 7 years at the insurgency affected northeastern part of India. A graduate from the National Defense Academy Pune and Indian Military Academy Dehradun. For 7 years specifically, when he worked in that particular region which was affected with insurgency, he experienced the violence and civil disturbances, and then he realized that it is only education that can avoid the youth being affected by radicalization. Otherwise, it is very easy to convert. So that is when he began to work in that area of education. So in the year 2005, Colonel Christopher Rego and his wife Myrna, they started sponsoring the education of children and with their own resources. Then several of their friends and family, they also pitched in, and they started their own venture. And in the year 2016, when he retired, he founded Sunbird Trust. And this is a non-sectarian and non-religious organization. He is the CEO of that foundation. The vision is peace through education and national integration. This trust works towards educating and empowering children from the conflict affected areas of northeastern India. Sunbird Trust has a team of 25 young professionals from across India and sponsors, mind you, 4,000 children from 7 northeastern states. More than 60 of these are either in graduation or post graduation studies. Other students who graduated are now working with Sunbird Trust. Sunbird Trust has built 7 schools and 8 hostels thanks to several generous donors. They have transformed the lives of over 10,000 people in remote parts of the northeastern India. He was awarded, Colonel Christopher Rego, was awarded the prestigious International Ashoka Fellowship from the South Asia region in 2016. This fellowship is an international gold standard for social entrepreneurs. So proud and very happy to welcome you to our discussion and welcome viewers to this particular discussion. With me is Vibhuti Jha, my co-host. So welcome Vibhuti ji. What are your thoughts on top of your mind today?
No, my thoughts are very simple. Thank you very much, Colonel, for being on the show and the good work that you do. Can you hear me clear?
I can hear you clearly.
Very good. One of the things which always is at the back of everybody's mind is that how do these NGOs operate? It definitely requires dedication, complete selflessness, and with a commitment and desire to uplift those who can't lift themselves up. So we need more humanitarian gestures and more humanitarian actions to support the people who who need help. So, having been part of many organizations that I have worked with, profit and not for profit, I have always believed in one thing is that even NGOs, even if they don't want to make profit, it's okay. But you have to generate surplus from working from within. That unless and until you create your own surplus, donors become difficult to come by. Because then they believe, and I have seen this happen, I have been on the board of some of the NGOs, and the fundraising is the biggest issue. And so one of the challenges which I said to them as a banker, that look, you are working with other people's money to fulfill your internal motivation. What is important is to be able to inspire confidence in the donors, that even if their donation dried up for one reason or the other, you are able to run the show because you are doing a very divine job. So the question, my inquiry has always been, don't call it profit, but call it surplus. How do we manage that? And majority of the NGOs in the US, I know a lot of them, many big ones, they spend 70% on admin expenses. And as a result of which it becomes a holiday plan for somebody at the expense of someone else. And that's the biggest challenge majority of the NGOs suffer from. I know some of them who are doing enormous work and they spend barely 1 to 2% on administration. Kudos to them. I can share some of those ideas later. But suffice for me to say that while I do applaud your work, this tremendous amount of work needs to be done. Uh, it is also equally important that we keep creating the source of funds open and dry, so that and working, not dry, working. So thank you very much for uplifting the people of Northeast. Tell me your story, and then we will have more conversation as we go along.
Yes. So thank you very much for your thoughts and what you have expressed, Vibhuti. Uh, yes, indeed, what you mentioned, the sustainability of the NGO is very, very important. But I have a slightly different take over here. When you choose to work in such remote parts of the Northeast, which are stricken by suspicion, even violence at times, where some people are so poor that they may be even on a bartering system, forget about earning money, and you're serving this community and trying to get their children into school, it is not always possible to generate the funds from within. And this is a huge challenge. No matter what we may try, it defeats the very purpose if we try to, get that much money from the people. Of course, we do make them have a little bit of skin in the game. So our sustainability actually comes from a different way. We're just beginning to taste the fruits of our work now of the past several years when our youngsters are tumbling out of college and getting good jobs and supporting their families, pulling entire families out of poverty. But more importantly, coming back to the same communities to work in those communities. I see that as the sustainability for this type of work that we are doing. And the second thing that you mentioned was about, I would agree with you that sometimes NGO is a bad word. And rightfully so, when you see some organizations, like you mentioned, getting 70%, of operational, showing 70% of their expenditure towards their administration. Happy to mention that at Sunbird, it's not as low as 1 and 2 as you mentioned, but considering the scale and the width of our operations, it stands as a magnificent 6%, which is the maximum it's been over the past 4 to 5 years. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead to my story. I happen to come from a military family of 4 generations. My granddad was in the Second World War. He was a doctor. My dad was a retired air commodore. Even my great granddad, for that matter, served in the British Army in those days. So I come from a very deep value system that has come out of being in the services, and that is a value system of coming from the middle class. The service people have not been so endowed, that it's come from a thing of service, of integrity. And I've spent a good 32 years. I'm a graduate of the National Defense Academy, as Girijaji has just said. Thoroughly enjoyed those 3 decades that I have spent, because it really broadens your vision to serve with people from all avenues, from different parts of the country, different languages, different culture. You're completely transformed. I would go to the extent of saying that my own way of life, whether it be our food, our dress, so many things, we have picked up the best from everywhere, over these 3 generations, and it wouldn't be anywhere near what we were originally. So that's the background. And then while I was in the army, I had this fascination for the Northeast for very selfish reasons. A lot of my hobbies came together. I'm a nature lover. The mountains, the lakes, the rivers, the beautiful fields of the Northeast. culture really interested. It's myriad cultures. Even a small state like Manipur, which has only 3 million people, has as many as 30 different identities. And I incidentally happen to be a musician and a photographer and a trekker. So all these hobbies came together, and I asked the army to post me there twice. And I could say I was really blessed and privileged to have served there for almost 8 years. Oh,
I wanted to say two associations, affiliations I can immediately connect with you. One is National Defense Academy. I lived in Pune for many years. I studied in Wadia, Ferguson, Gokhale Institute, and many of my peer group were part of NDA, and I have been to many POPs, POPs as you call it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, many of them. I've dined in your dining lodge, dining hall, massive discipline, and I literally your swimming pool was so great that I almost wanted to walk on it. So it was, and
Lovely.
so I've had the good fortune of having several lieutenant generals and generals as my friend, good friend. We even communicate today, and I have great sense of pride for military. If I was not colorblind, I would have been part of NDA too at one time. And
Wonderful.
there is another group, another very good friend of mine, Dr. George Abraham. We'll talk about him some other day, but I interviewed him on my TV program. He is also an ex-military guy who came to the US, sold his technology company, and started a school for completely destitute children. And it's an amazing model. So I'm really inspired by people who are doing a great job in this regard. And George runs a school in Bangalore called
I don't
Shanti
know.
Niketan, Shanti Bhavan. You may have heard about it. They pick up a child, boy or a girl, from a destitute family, one child per family, and they give them free education till they land a job. It's not up to seventh or eighth grade, till they land a job. And their graduates now are interning in America and other places. So maybe I will introduce the both of you, and you can put your resources together. I'm a believer in the concept two and two can make four all the time, and two and two three can make it six. So more heads multiply. As a student of economics, I say always work on the multiplier effect. So so as a cameraman, as a poet lover, and a nature trekker, you like Northeast. So I have a lot of friends from Northeast too. So I will not talk a lot because I will leave it to Girija. She has a set of questions prepared for you. I'm warning you right now. So go ahead, answer some of them, and I'll butt in as and when I'm
Yes.
tempted to. Thank you.
Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, nothing. Yes, yes. So you live in Bangalore and you decided to work in the Northeast, right? So one is, I have two questions for you. Why is it that you so such a far off place? One is this. Second is, what was your inspiration to bring in to start this work? How did this idea dawn upon you?
As I mentioned to you, the very reasons that I wanted to go to the Northeast, there's a sense of curiosity there's so much a mystery about the beautiful things of the Northeast. There's so little that we know.
Yeah, a lot of
We
people,
don't even study
yes,
this.
there is a
Kirajat,
comment here. India knows more about America than the Northeast. People have written in the comments. Yes, we do not know. So that is why that curiosity. Why did you choose to work with Northeast when you were there? So yes, I understand very well that you worked in the Northeast, so you understood what exactly were the difficulties that they were going through. You're frozen for some time, so probably maybe I think you will it'll be okay. So
yes, it was also a sense of wanting to know where this
I don't
insurgency
see you
came
busy
from, why there
also.
was so much of trouble.
Are you
A little
able to
bit
hear
of
me?
delay in. Yes, I
I
can
don't
hear
think
you, ma'am.
you are
It's a
able
little
to hear
bit,
me. Yes, you can
a
hear me.
little bit
Okay.
of
No, no, you were
disturbance.
frozen for
Yeah.
some time. So you can continue. You can tell me about, from where did you get that inspiration? How did
Yes. So besides the things
yes,
that I
yeah.
mentioned, or the beautiful parts of the Northeast, there was
So
also
what
the
was your
desire.
inspiration to
Yes.
work on this, start?
So the inspiration was that, the trouble that had been happening in the Northeast for decades. Many people had been killed, including my colleagues. The country had lost out heavily in this insurgency of decades. We were putting our soldiers there, and spending, again, like I said, billions on their training, on their equipment, on keeping them pointing the gun at our own people when they ought to be on the borders. And had there been peace, this money could have gone to developing the Northeast in terms of health, education, infrastructure, and so many other things. So one of the things that intrigued me was, I wanted to know what could be done about this, what could be done differently than what has been done for the past, so many decades. And I came to the conclusion that it had to be a mindset change, not only with the people who are affected, but by the rest of the country also. And that is something which cannot be achieved in a day or even in a few years, maybe even in a few decades. But that's exactly what we're trying to do. And I think we're doing it with quite a bit of success.
That is, I have seen many of the videos. I know that you have a wonderful team working with you, and they come from different parts of the world. They are scholars who have qualified from different universities. So, can you share something about your team that works with you? Because everything is all about working together. Together we
Let me
achieve
begin
more,
with
right?
the
So, can you share
yeah.
something about it?
Let me begin with the first person that joined me. So 3 years ago, 4 years ago, this girl from Kerala, she was a Teach for India fellow. She had heard about the work that my wife and I were doing in the Northeast, and she approached me and said, "Sir, I've heard so much about that type of work. Can you please let me join your organization?" Now, she was a graduate from BITS Pilani, done her Teach for India. I said, "Madam, wrong number. I said, this is not the place. We don't have salaries. We're working in the middle of the jungle. There is violence. There is, the insurgency going on. You may not have electricity, connectivity." She said, "Sir, I've heard all that. But you please let me come. You just give a roof over my head and give me food, and I'll be willing to come there." So we took a call and we said, "Okay, we'll give you, a couple of months and we'll see whether you like it and whether we like it too." And this girl, so she just jumped in a train, reached us all the way in Manipur. She did such a fabulous job. And she set the ball rolling. Through her, others started joining. Soon it became a flood, really. Today, we have a core team of 25 plus another 10 volunteers. So we are 35 strong. And what is special about our team is that it's not like any other NGO. The first bar that they have to clear is that they know they're coming to a dangerous area where their lives also could be in danger. So I'm very glad for that filter because only the most motivated and committed people come. And the second bar is that we don't have the great salaries that some of these international NGOs have. We are a very, very modest, starting with myself and the rest of the team also. So the word is spread from the team members. Most of those who join us come from our team members are already here. They have tasted the work that we do. They have felt the transparency. They have enjoyed and been loved by the community. They have a sense of adventure and a sense of achievement, and this is being passed on to others. So you may be surprised to know that at this point of time we have 125 applications to join us, because I think once people join, they are with us for life. So again, to cut it short about the team, starting with my chief of operations, she's an IIT postgraduate uh, got a doctorate from London in biotechnology, a Teach for India fellow to boot, and she gave up everything to join us. And she's been with us for 3 years. She's barely in her early 30s. And all my other team members are like that, from multiple disciplines. They bring knowledge from across the spectrum to the organization.
That
That's
is
truly
wonderful.
remarkable.
Yes, we know.
The dedication is very very much a big requirement. Dedication and commitment to do what. My question is, my inquiry with you is not a question; it's an inquiry with you. You were part of Indian military that was trying to curb insurgency in that area. So as a military guy, ex-military guy, you go back as a peacemaker and a message of peace. How did the people respond to that? Did you face any threat, or they just accepted your new avatar?
Very, very interesting question. I can tell you, Vibhuti, that while I was in the army, it was my duty to the country to do whatever I had to. I had the gun in my hands. It was to be used in the interest of the country, to carry the writ of the country. So there was no question about it. There was a loyalty to what I had to do at that time. But I also felt a bigger loyalty to the people at large. Now we were in a place; these are not enemy people. They're not from China or from Pakistan. They are our own people. So when you work, I saw the opportunity of cutting through this distrust, of bringing people back, of building bridges between the army and the local people. Yes, when I started this work, people said, "What the hell? These are the guys who killed our comrades. You've been for their funerals, and now you want to go and work with them." I never saw the them and I never saw the us. I saw all of us as an us. And when I started this work, I'm so happy because what we have done has now proved it. We are working in the midst of communities from where the militants come from, and now their children are coming to our school. And believe it or not, over the past 3, 4 years, these very children of, from militant communities are now wanting to join the Indian army. So the whole idea is of bringing people together. It's a very powerful thing of changing the mindset all around. And we have the tremendous support of the Army and the Assam Rifles, right up to the Chief of Army Staff who came and inaugurated our last hostel, seeing this concept where we are able to bring back people and get a totally sustainable peace. When you have the gun pointed, it's a different type of peace. And this is a peace that is taken ownership of by the people, and it goes right down to their hearts, and it's there forever. So that's the way we work.
I will, Girijaji, before you jump in with your questions, I have one, a thought that is always at the back of my mind. And one of the things which I see is that India is hurtling itself to disaster because we have lost the ability to think through the actual problem. We just attend to the surface wounds. I'm a sportsman. I have played competitive sports. I would have been in military, but for my color blindness, I would be shooting everybody with a red flag or a green flag. So, so I'm glad I was not there. But sports is my biggest teacher. I hold them in highest regard because military people are the ones who are willing to sacrifice their lives for what they are commanded to protect and defend. So you're willing to give your life. And sports, because these are the two arenas of human endeavor where humans exceed or excel or reach their full potential. You don't get up, pick up a gun, and start shooting. You practice, practice, practice. You learn from Suvedar, Havaldars, or whoever it is to teach you. You are willing to learn, you are willing to teach, you are willing to coach, you are willing to mentor. So military has to be in a state of permanent readiness. You don't jump into battle just because let's have a sword and let's have a gun. Likewise for sports. People prepare for years to be in Olympics, right? For that fraction of a second or that nano fraction of a second where a swimmer wins a gold medal and others do not. So the question here is that India has lost that sense completely, in my opinion. We are no longer driven by the concept and desire to perform. We have become an entitlement-driven society where the political system grants a reservation. To me, it beats the hell out of me that even the proud Marathas are part of reservation category. It beats the crap out of me when I hear that prosperous Jains are part of a reservation community. What must happen, according to you, teaching the children who have suffered insurgency and are willing to go back to military? That's the bigger role that I am trying to work on. because we have worked with US Army, we have worked with US Special Forces. During the post-Vietnam fatigue of the US Army, our work led to uplifting of the morale of the Army. We were the mood changers. We worked with special forces in our ability to a human potential project where we shifted their entire performance criterion and made them better performers than what they are. So you are a nature lover. You are an interesting army man who loves trekking, who loves music, who loves things, doing things, a sense of sacrifice. What must India do? What must ordinary Indians do to get out of this political hatchet job of reservation and come out and say, hey, you don't get an Olympic medal because you have a reservation policy. The world belongs to those who perform. It doesn't belong to those who beg. I'm very strong on this. I'm watching Olympics all the time, and I'm saying, where is an Indian performing? Where are Indians playing in European and English soccer leagues? My dream is before I quack, I see at least one Indian playing in EPL. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a really difficult, a topic. But let's say that at the time of independence, yes, perhaps it was needed because people were oppressed, badly oppressed for centuries. They did not have the opportunities. They were disadvantaged, not able to access so many privileges, even normal facilities that from the government side or whatever. So perhaps at that stage, I would have said that yes, we had to sort of level the playing field, but this cannot go on forever. And I think the Supreme Court has also pointed out to this that at some stage this has to stop. And unfortunately, I think this decision lies with the political
Right.
establishment, and we are the ones who elect them. You know. So while I say that at some stage this was required, and perhaps maybe it is still required for some really disadvantaged people, some of the communities you mentioned certainly don't fall in that category. So I'm really, it's beyond my sphere of influence to say, but I hope that at some stage things would be where it's purely on merit, where it's purely on merit. I just hope that would happen. I don't think that
Your
time.
profession is one such, right? I mean, I've had discussions with the people. I've said you do not lower the criterion of selection. You improve the capacity to enroll. That's the true meaning of affirmative action. That I do not become a doctor or a military engineer or a gunfighter or an artillery guy or a commando with substandard marks. And this is a
Absolutely.
personal thing to me. My mother suffered from cancer, brain tumor. And this is a story that I think the whole world must know, that I was going to meet her every month from here because, and there was a day in which her left arm were completely punctured for blood taking. And in the night, the last blood check was happening, and the doctor came with a jacket, and he could not find the nerve to take the blood. So I just requested him, call Sister Kerala's sister who was there. I said, call her, she knows how to do it. She may be able to help you better. The guy bursted out to me. I don't know him. Just because I'm from reserved category, you damn people are trying to force me like that. It infuriated me. That I don't even know you, man. I don't even know your name. And you are already accusing me with a massive chips on your shoulder that I'm accusing you of something which I don't know anything about. I offered help because I can't see my mother cry. I told Rambilas Paswan, the man rests in peace. I told Rambilas Paswan, would you go to a doctor who was substandard? Instead of making him qualify, you are giving him a certificate though he's substandard. That's the point which I'm trying to drive at, is that we have become part of the political jungle where vote bank politics is destroying the culture of performance. We may have drifted, but that's an important part because what you are doing is a commitment. People are joining forces that they were fighting against. So thank you very much for that. Please.
Thank you.
Yeah. So going back to Sunbird Trust, you have always battled with all the separatist movements and the impact of those. So what is the genesis of this separatist movement? Why is it still continuing after 70 years in those northeastern parts of the country? Why is it happening?
No, ma'am, many people make this blunder. They think that, at the stroke of the midnight hour on the 15th of August, 1947, we all became Indians. Bharat Mata ki jai. Nothing is farther from the truth. Now, where Vibhuti is, it's been more than 200 years, 240 odd years, and America is still not integrated. So I'd like to say that, this integration of our country is work in progress. And people need to see it as such. It's a slow and deliberate process. A lot of people have to contribute to this process for it to happen. People come with different aspirations. Now, let me talk of a small state of Manipur where most of our work is. Can you believe that in a population of 3 million, there are 30 different identities with 30 different languages? 30 plus. People say there are 34 or 35. That is the level of diversity. Each one wants their own resources, their own land, their own, nation. To give you an example, let's talk about the Nagas. The Nagas are a warrior race. uh, their nation state was not their nation state was their village. They cannot accept being ruled from Kohima, which is their capital, and worse still from Delhi by strange looking people like you and me. So it takes time to go through these things. And another very important thing is the ethnicity. If you want to look at it, people from the northeast feel completely different. You and me, we could talk about Sachin Tendulkar, about cricket, about Bollywood, about Hindi, so many things, samosa. But a person from the northeast would not empathize with any of these things. So it's going to take time for people to integrate, for people to accept the larger uh, entity of India for its oneness. It has to be work in progress. Happy to say that we are getting there. It's taking time. What is needed is patience, and what is not needed is the demagogues who come and try to instigate people, and try to sort of rush this process. Ma'am, you're in mute. Yeah.
Yes. So that discrimination that against the people in the East who feel that it is really exists and people still are fighting against it.
I'm sure if I ask Vibhuti ji and yourself, have you studied a word about the Northeast when you went through right up
But
to
here
your
also,
graduation?
many people know about it. Exactly. Manipur, Mizoram. Very. You probably see a few of their dances or something like that. When foreign dignitaries come, you will see on the television, but not much of it is known to many people. Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. If you The Ahom dynasty of Assam was from about 1228 for about 600 years, one of the longest dynasties. We don't have a word of that in our books. When that happens, it's obvious that people don't know about the Northeast. So, for instance, we think that these prejudices. Ma'am, if you put yourself on mute, I think the echo will go. Well, yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's better, ma'am. So now, for instance, let's talk about the prejudices. People say, okay, all northeastern people eat noodles. Now, noodles is only eaten the communities which are bordering to China and the Arunachal. There's some of the Tibetan people. You can't hear of noodles in remote parts of Mizoram and even for Nagaland for that matter. We think that they all do kung fu. Okay, it's ridiculous. 90% or 99% would not know about kung fu. Unfortunately, in your time and even up to my time, there was this guy called Danny Zogpa, and all he was the villain in every movie. So people just seeing a person with slanted eyes think that, okay, there's a fear of something. You have boys who may be doctors working in top-notch places. They are called bahadurs, as if they are gunmen outside the bank. So these are the prejudices that are unfortunately there. There has to be a systematic thing, starting with the schooling, where we have this ingrained in us that There is a difference, maybe in facial features, in ethnicity, but we are one and the same. And this sort of discrimination is unacceptable.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you that you know a lot of our cultural identity is not taught in schools and colleges. You are absolutely right that were we ever taught about Northeast? No. I don't even know about my Hinduism at all in the classroom. So so what I'm trying to say to you, you have really hit upon the root cause of problem, that our historical traditions have been muted or not conveyed. In my case, individually speaking, since you asked me, I was a different kind of a guy. I'm not like this because I live in America. I have been like this even when I was in India. So that's me. I have always been more curious. I have had friends and I make friends from people and I want to understand other people's culture because we are all different. I lived in Bangalore. I worked with Reserve Bank of India. There were Mendozas and there were D'Souza's and they were all my friends. So I totally, I make an extra effort to understand. I have had a lot of friends from Northeast. I have friends from Assam. I was astonished how little we know about them. And I blame our political system for keeping us in the dark. And hopefully someday things will change. You mentioned about the integration in America. You are right. This country today is not the country I came to. It was a melting pot. It is no longer a melting pot. It is a divided pot now. And insofar as India is concerned, in the recent Pew research, one of my friends gave a very nice name to that. That India is not a melting pot. It is a big quilt. The cotton is all over in the quilt. And they're all part of the same razai. You cover, sometimes you cover from the right side, sometimes you cover from the left side. So the point is that you are not, or the entire quilt is not on you. It is covering you in various places, retaining its own place. And that's what people have to understand very importantly, that everybody, equality is a myth, in my opinion. If you do not accept individual differences, equality makes no sense. As I say that if you don't know how to say no, your yes has no meaning. So what I'm saying is that, we have to have a real cultural revolution. Listen, I'm diverting, I know that. But I'm saying this from the point of view that you are an ex-soldier working in an insurgent-fed area with so much of dissatisfaction, where the rest of the country thinks they are literally chinkies. Yeah, you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So integrating them in the mainstream can happen only if their identity is known to others. Just as Tamil dosa is different than Kerala dosa, and all kinds of rice bath, lemon bath in Bangalore is different from dahi bhat from Maharashtra, right? That's the point which I'm trying to say to you, that we are an amazing country. We are missing out on our potential. So, I'm really in a good mood. Let me put it this way to you. So I'm not letting you talk as much. I have been traveling. I wouldn't have been on the show just now. I came back for Giriza last night at 11:30. So because she was requesting me to do that. So I will keep my mouth shut. Please tell us how you go about doing what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you earn the
So,
trust? It must have been, the one is the danger. If the place has got so much of violence, there is so much of a risk to your safety. Still, you ventured on it. Second is, how did you win the trust of the people? So, they would like to know about these two aspects.
yes, so the biggest step was the first step. I was a serving colonel of the Indian Army in Manipur, which was 2012, 2013, in the throes of the insurgency, where our troops are all, corralled into what I call golden cages, the beautiful cantonments, but they cannot come out without their full protection, the quick reaction teams, the guns. The children cannot come out of the cantonment to schools. The ladies cannot go to the markets without protection. I was very fortunate to be seconded to the Border Roads Organization in Manipur, where my duty was actually to get out all the time and be on the roads to go to different places. And of course, I didn't wear the uniform, otherwise, I'd have become a sitting duck. So, but having said that, even then, to get into the villages and to start the work that I did, if people ever came to know that I was a colonel, it could have been very dangerous. And the first few times that I went, I actually had to, we couldn't tell people when we are going and when we are coming. So it was a leap of faith. I was invited to one of the villages who had heard about our work in Mizoram, and leap of faith that they called me, and I said, okay, let's go. And very frankly, it was one had to be, I would be foolish to say that I was not concerned about my safety, but when I went there, it was wonderful. I found the need for that hostel to get children into that school. We built it. And how did we get the trust? So the trust comes from Sunbird Trust being an absolutely without agenda organization. We have no agenda of culture, politics, religion, money, or certainly. And most importantly, the people perceive us as people, as friends who have come to help them with their children. And they couldn't find, anything to attack us for. And I have to say, in a very curious way, that our biggest insurance policy was the women, and they told the husbands, brothers, fathers, and sons, that don't touch these guys. These are the guys who are, coming to us. We've been ignored for decades, and now these are the guys who are bringing education to our kids. So it started from there. And then the next step, believe it or not, the same communities that were attacking, from where our soldiers were being killed, ambushed, whatnot, their children became our children. I think you may not be knowing that my wife and I brought down 35 children from Manipur to Bangalore. So we landed up with 37, R2 and the 35. All of these 35 were put through college. 14 of them graduated in September. And out of the 14, again, sustainability, 10 of them are back with Sunbird Trust and working with us right now. So the children of the communities where we are serving are my own children. That is the level of trust that we have reached. It is possible.
So that was actually one of my questions. How did tell us something about the alumni of the Sunbird Trust scholarship team? Like just now, you were talking about children who have studied with you and who are working with you. So, can you?
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not one. Now there are all about 12 or 14 of them who have been our children who we have sponsored and put through their whole schooling. It was a big challenge bringing these children to Bangalore from a totally different culture. Many of them could not speak even English properly. The food was a nightmare for them. Even the rice, they have a sticky type of rice, and the Bangalore rice did not agree with them. The masalas and the oil, the crowd. Some of them had come from villages where you would never see a bus or a car, and here you come to traffic like the way that you find this was. So initially, the first year was a nightmare for these guys, but the way that they sort of got used to everything and completely turned around, they got into their college teams. They were doing well in their studies. One was the best social workers. The girls were in the college football team. Uh, Things changed dramatically. So these alumni, I'm happy to say, the first ones that my wife and I sponsored way back in 2003, 2004. We have a super specialist doctor who's now in Mizoram and sponsoring children of his own. I mean, not from his own family, but from his village. We have a lawyer who's passed out from the National Law School. And we have alumni in one in America, one in Dubai, one in Australia. But most of all, it's not been a transactional. They have been imbibed with the Sunbird philosophy to give back. I can say almost without exception, our alumni, including the 10 who have joined us from the Bangalore graduates, are all committed to doing the type of work that we do, whatever careers they may choose in their lives. So that's a word about alumni.
That is brilliant, actually. Now, the you have said that there are about 4,000 children and there are about seven schools. What are the areas where the seven schools are? And to manage those many number of children, you require huge numbers, so many faculty, 25 people to working with you. So, where do you get the funds from? Who are the sponsors? So, maybe if you can throw light on those people.
Let me clarify, the seven schools are schools. We find passionate people who've got a really good track record of a decade or more serving society. We work with them, and through the trust or society route, we build the school. So it's not owned by any private people. And so these schools have come up. Some of them are maybe 100, and some have 450 children. Ma'am, if you could put on mute, ma'am, the little bit of resonance is there. Yes, thank you. And the 4,000 children are not in these schools alone. The children in these schools are only a small part of it. These 4,000 children come from more than 50 schools across 7 states. So we sponsor, say, 50 children, 60 children in a school, some schools even up to 100 children. So they are selected by the school, they're selected by the community. We monitor them and take them forward at least to 10th standard. And those who do well, we take them even beyond. Now, the next question you asked me about the donors and how do we get the money to pay salaries for 25 plus 10, plus look after 4,000 children, plus the operational expenditure of our schools. Uh, there's a saying that you cannot fool all the people all the time. You may fool some of the people some of the time. But the reverse also holds true. When you've quietly worked and our team has created so much and done so much, if you come and see one of these schools and our donors have come there and touched and felt, this you can gas through social media and all sorts of things. But when they come and get the heart and the feeling and they are, they're seeing the changes, the mindset change that has happened in the community, when they see that an army, where an army camp has been turned into a school because there's no longer violence in that area, and that army camp has been handed over to Sunbird Trust, where children are now going to school in the same building. So this, from a stage where I was going around with the hat and begging, I'm happy to say that some of our really loyal donors, and there are many, are now being inspired to feel a part of what we're doing. We don't have a transactional approach with them that, okay, give the money and thank you, write a thank you letter. We make them feel a very much ownership and a part of what we're doing. And thanks to that, we have, corporate donors, we have high network individuals, and we also have donors like this lady from Rajasthan who's a tailor working in a village. She doesn't have a bank account or she doesn't have a PAN card. She has a bank account, and she sends us donation of 300, 400 every few months. So that's the donors that we have.
This is a very inspiring story. And I just say one thing, and Girijaji and both of you, I will apologize because my computer battery is dying out completely. So what I would say is that I'm a patron of an organization, Delhi-based organization. It's called computersiksha.org. Uh, if you have heard about it or not, would you be okay if I introduce you to the founder of computersiksha.org? Because we have made some phenomenal progress in imparting computer education to children who don't have money, poor and downtrodden. And our administrative cost, I'm very proud to share, is the one negligible. And all the donors who come, because we make wonderful difference in the lives of people. So without much ado, would you be open to interacting with him? Because they
Certainly.
provide free computers to every child. Every child. It's not that 5 children are sitting on one computer. Each child has his own computer. The model is very different. All learn all aspects of Microsoft Office, Work, Excel, and everything else. They know about Microsoft programs more than average Joes like me know about it. And they are remarkably computer literate, easily employable. And those children, cutting across religious and other barriers, they are all becoming really employable and changing the face of the communities they live in. So I would take your permission to introduce you to my friend, Dr. I'll introduce the name later. Today, the show is not for him. But I will have to take it off because my battery is almost dying. I don't want to be vaporizing from here, but I want to go with the full permission from both of you to carry on your conversation. But it's really privilege and honor to meet you, and we will continue our dialogue.
Thank you, Vibhuti. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vibhuti. Thank you so much. Thank you. I understand you've been traveling and still he joined. I thought I didn't expect him to join. He said he could be a little late. Thank you so much for joining. And as usual, the questions were very insightful.
Now, thank you. I made a promise to you, and I'll keep it.
Thank you so
I
much.
believe in
Thank you.
commitments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. Good night. Good day. Yeah. So, Colonel, your work has increased exponentially. It has scaled up. What are your long-term plans?
Quite simply, we want to build 50 institutions, that is, schools and hostels, not just necessary
You
schools.
mean five
Uh,
zero?
50, absolutely. And educate 25,000 children by the year 2025. That is our aim, because we feel that every one of these institutions is a very powerful hub for spreading our work, to the villages around, to through the children, to their parents, to the village, to the neighboring villages, very, very importantly. And each of these 25,000 children, we believe, will be an arrow for peace, national integration, amity. That's the big target. You can wish me luck. It is a lofty target. Happy to say that we are already 15 institutions and possibly another five by the end of this year. So that would be 20. And with the help of, I hope, a few good people watching the show also, we'll get there, certainly.
Certainly. One is the good wishes, and there are people with good connect. I'm sure that somebody will connect definitely with you. And what is your message to the youth of Northeast?
My message to the youth of the Northeast is, don't get swayed by what you hear that there is discrimination and there's racism in the rest of India. That's just a tiny, tiny portion. You can expect warmth, you can expect hospitality, you can expect a huge amount of support. There is no them and us. The India that may have been there 10, 15, 20 years ago has changed completely. And my message to them would be that this is a country on the way to becoming a superpower. They can do whatever they want if they have the hard work and the commitment to do it. You know, if they have the passion for their work, the means will follow, the jobs will follow. So keep positive, steer away from the radicalization, steer away from the political, the religious, the cultural divides, and look at the bigger picture. And you can be assured of a bright future.
So that is really very positive, vibrant, amazing message. Any thoughts that you would like to leave with us, the viewers who are watching the show today?
Yes, the biggest thing that I would like to leave with the viewers is that the Northeast has definitely been out of sight. We don't hear about it in our news. We don't hear about it, in our studies in college and whatever. But let it not be out of mind. You know, our world should not be our Pune and Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, whatever. Our world should also include the Northeast. If we want to progress, if we want peace and prosperity, we have to carry the people of the Northeast along with us. So my big message to anybody that is watching the show is broaden your, vision and your horizons to learn a little more of the Northeast and to make the Northeast a part, include that in our thinking for whatever progress that we may want to make.
Thank you very much. And it was really a very interesting conversation, very enlightening. And the most important thing is you touched upon points which probably we were not aware, number one. Second is, yes, we need to inculcate that sensitivity among the youth that, yes, people who have been neglected for generations, definitely they may have their sore points. So we have to be a little more loving, a little more caring, and they come into our fold very nicely. So it is our duty to welcome them with open arms. I really appreciate the effort that you're taking, going all the way from Bangalore. You could have very well said, okay, when I was part of the army, I had to face all that, and now let me retire and live my cushy life in Bangalore. But you didn't do that. So you chose a path which is very difficult, and you are loving it because you see the meaning and the significance of the cause. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure the divine blessings are with you. A lot of people here will appreciate, and please, I will share your contact number and everything with the people here on the screen on the YouTube. So definitely we will have people approaching. Thank you so much, lovers. And People who are here, yes, I see a lot of very good remarks coming from people who have been watching the show. Because today this laptop is new, I was not able to flash the comments. Otherwise, I usually flash the comments also. So for 2 weeks, I'm away. I'm at a different place, so I couldn't bring my laptop. So that is why this has happened. Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you, Colonel Rico. Thank you. Wonderful time. Thank you for your sharing all the experience that you have. Look forward to meeting you more often like this in different platforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Girijaman. Thank you.
Bye, dear viewers.
Bye bye to the viewers. Yeah.